Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. You know, members, while there are many issues that divide Washington, this is absolutely an area where there is agreement and bipartisan and bicameral work being done. And we've already passed 5 separate anti-trafficking bills just a few months ago in May. And I'm very pleased we're taking additional action on these pieces of legislation tonight. More than 100,000 children are at risk of being trafficked for commercial sex in the United States. And those most at risk of victimization are the vulnerable, including children from our foster care system. Many of these children, they face barriers to a real childhood and are unable to participate in school activities, play after-school sports, or even spend time with friends. Youth that have been involved in the foster care system are much more likely to become runaways or homeless at an early age. The preventative measures in this legislation will make a difference. Mr. Speaker, on any given night, 2,500 youth in Minnesota, my home state, will experience homelessness. And the majority of those homeless youth are solicited for sex within 48 hours of becoming homeless or being out on the street. In fact, law enforcement will say and tells me that the overwhelming majority of trafficking victims are part of that homeless population, and 60% of those victims were in the foster care or group homes when they ran away. We know, Mr. Speaker, that trafficking is a very complex problem that requires many different solutions. It's going after the demand and punishing the Johns. It's shutting off access to trafficking victims through websites like Backpage.com, increasing international cooperation, passing safe harbor laws that ensure children are treated as victims of these heinous crimes, not as criminals. And most importantly, as we have in this legislation, we need to prevent children from becoming potential victims in the first place. This bill takes important steps to improve the sharing of information as to what is happening, where, and to whom. By identifying trends and filling in the gaps, we can help those children in foster care before they become victims in the first place. I just really want to thank not only Chairman Camp, Ranking Member Levin, and Ranking Member Doggett. I also want to thank Subcommittee Chairman Reichert for his passion, his advocacy, and his hard work on this legislation. We brought this together in a bipartisan manner. I also want to thank them in particular for including provisions from the legislation that I authored with Congresswoman Slaughter that address that lack of reliable data, reporting to law enforcement as it relates to runaway youth from the child welfare system. And I look forward to its passage and the passage of all these important bipartisan bills this evening, because together we can end trafficking. I yield back the balance of my time.